Dreaming Ansible Radio Theater Podcast.
Hey, this is Miles. Welcome to the show. It's the first episode, so there's not a lot of housekeeping to do. We're just going to get straight into the episode. This is Neighborly Detective Co. number 1. What mysteries live in the past of Agatha Neighborly and her strange family?
Exterior, day, New York City, Chinatown, 1963. Detective Lyotard is reading the newspaper smoking in front of a light post in Chinatown when a police car pulls up a few feet in front of him. Detective Skinner steps out of the car, burning a cigarette in his mouth. Skinner puts his hat on as Lyotard folds his paper and greets Skinner.
You see this? Duke Sender hit his 400th home run yesterday. Maybe the Mets aren't garbage after all.
Ever the optimist, Tommy.
Lyotard throws the paper in the trash. The usually unflinchingly cheerful look in his face completely vanishes. For a moment, Skinner wonders if his young partner really isn't all candy and sunshine after all.
This is ugly, Bob.
Exterior, day, beneath the Canal Street Bridge. Skinner and Lyotard stand above the corpse of a dead man, who appears to be in his mid to late 50s. He's only wearing a disgraceful pair of tighty whities. His naked body is slightly rotten from being in the water so long. There are several bullet wounds in his torso. His face is badly beaten, both eyes blacked.
An old man, Bob. What's the world coming to, huh?
Exterior day, McTaggart Nursing College, May 2003. Agatha and Betsy walking to the parking lot after school.
Your grades would thank you if you came to one of these study groups. Not to mention that stud muffin from organic chemistry is like always there.
I think you're the one he wants to do some covalent bonding with.
Betsy and Agatha play fight then hug for a second as they reach their cars.
Well, have fun with your 100-year-old aunt.
You'd love her, you know. You two could probably start a fight club or something.
Ags, we're in school to learn how to heal people, not beat them up.
I'm just gonna stick to what I'm good at.
The two women get in their cars and end of scene. Interior, night, Judith's apartment, May 2003. Judith and Agatha sit in Judith's apartment drinking tea and looking at old pictures. Judith's trembling hand reaches for a particular photo of a handsome soldier smoking a cigarette in front of an aircraft carrier, smiling like $10,000.
My brother Noah, your grandfather.
So handsome.
The war was the only thing that could keep him away from the ladies.
Agatha and Judith sip their drinks and riffle through the photos. Agatha stops on an old photo of a scrawny young man in a derby hat next to a 7-year-old Noah.
Ooh, what's this one?
Judith looks at the photo, then at Agatha. She gets up and walks across the room to a concealed liquor cabinet. She pulls out a bottle and walks back to where she was sitting with Agatha. She pours a shot into each of their cups.
That is a story I have not told in a long time.
Judith takes a sip from her cup. The steam rises. Exterior pre-dawn, rural Ohio, 1926. We start in the woods and slowly pan over to a small cabin. Inside, we find young Judith in overalls. She puts on a coat and picks up a shovel before heading outside. She walks several miles up the road until she reaches a large farm. Exterior, early morning, Old Man Parsons' farm. Young Judith marches through the farm with her shovel slung over her shoulder. She finds Old Man Parsons feeding the chickens. "Morning, Judith. What brings you here?"
I came to work, sir.
Judith Neighborhood, you are very big on the inside, but the rest of you is just a little girl.
A little girl who can lift a shovel and knows how to pull weeds.
Samuel.
Sir, no one wants to say it, but Sam, he's had the fever for 3 weeks now. That's 2 weeks longer than my brother Louis when he had the fever last year. Well...
Judith and Old Man Parsons stare at each other for a moment.
Louis never got better. It's 2 months to harvest. You need all the help you can get.
Old Man Parsons resists the urge to cry and puts his arm around Judith instead. "We'll get you started then." Exterior day, Old Man Parsons' stables. The shadow of young Judith swings her shovel behind the stables as piles of horse manure grow and grow. Then we see her digging weed after weed after weed from the rows of corn and tomatoes. Then we see her feed so many chickens. So many chickens, it baffles the mind.
Samuel passed later that month. I worked Old Man Parsons' stables for 3 years. Most of the money went to Mama. She bought food and shoes and fixed the roof every spring. Some of it I saved to buy myself a fancy outfit for our annual trip to the big city.
Interior, Judith's apartment, 2003.
Oh, do tell me more about it. It sounds so amazing. You really worked as a stable boy?
It's all rather R-rated, my dear. Lurid nonsense that almost verges on fairy tales. An ambitious lady like yourself surely has no time for ancient gossip.
They devilishly smile back and forth at each other for a moment.
Only the poorest of liars would call me ambitious. Ambidextrous, maybe. Ambiguous, definitely. That one for sure.
Agatha's phone rings. It's Betsy.
Hey, Bets.
I just spoke to Mason, who takes the Tuesday night of our Wednesday night organic chemistry class. There's a whole section on genetic mutations tomorrow. Get over here, like, fast!
Agatha hangs up, collecting herself to speak.
Another time.
Agatha gets up and grabs her things hastily. Judith follows a few steps behind her to let her out the door. They pause in the doorway.
I'll be by tomorrow.
I know you will.
Interior, hallway, outside Judith's apartment. Agatha heads down the hall and bumps into 2 men with fedoras dressed up like old-time gangsters. The first one is Hans. Draper is his partner. The bump almost completely spins Agatha around. Hans and Draper continue down the hall. Agatha follows after.
Excuse you? Who taught you manners?
Draper turns to Agatha as Hans and Draper reach Judith's door.
Shut it, bitch.
What did you just... And what the hell?
Hans knocks on Judith's door as Draper and Agatha get into it.
I'm not gonna warn you twice.
Agatha decks Draper before he finishes his sentence.
Let me warn you, buddy.
As Draper reels from the punch, Agatha kicks him in the stomach and maces him.
Show some fucking respect.
Hans turns around, see what commotion is. The door to Judith's apartment opens behind him as he does. Hans sees Draper on the ground and reaches for his gun. What the... Before Hans can pull his gun from its holster, his knee explodes into a supernova of blood.
Ah! My eyes!
Judith emerges from the door, smoking pistol in hand. Draper begins to get up his hands, falls to the ground. Agatha maces Draper again as Judith pistol whips Hans.
Who sent you?
Oh, God, I'm gonna kill you.
You're hardly in the position to give threats, young man.
Judith puts her foot on Hans' neck and raises pistol to his eye.
Who sent you?
Judith disengages the safety in the pistol. Hans has a pretty good poker face. He is just barely not pissing himself.
Aunt Judith!
Draper begins to groan and rise to his feet. Agatha swiftly kicks him in the stomach again. He falls to the floor and she maces him again, just to be sure. Meanwhile, Judith is searching Hans for a wallet. She finds one, but it's a dud. There's a stupid amount of cash, but nothing else except a picture of a little girl and a dog. Judith has kept her foot on Hans' throat, but one of his legs is in two pieces. She's just holding him in place. Now she puts some weight on it. She puts the gun and the wallet in her coat pocket, then leans over. Hans is squirming now, trying to get off his back, gasping for air.
You won't need this picture anymore after today. Awake, asleep. The only thing you ever see anymore in this girl's face, you'll think of her little lungs drawing breath.
Judith steps down as hard as she can without outright killing him. Hans's face is changing color.
You'll maybe wonder if they're drawing breath right now. Maybe yes, maybe no.
The fight goes out of Hans's eyes. He just closes them and turns a little, expecting a death blow. Judith takes her foot off his neck and closes the door to her apartment.
After your conversation with the police, you should go to that little girl. Protect her. You won't be protecting your boss's secrets anymore.
What is happening?
We should go now. Down the back stairs. Quickly now.
Judith moves down the hall with surprising speed. Agatha does her best to follow. She kicks Hans in the face as she passes him, attempting to lift himself up. They dart into a door-marked stairs. A few seconds later, two cops find Hans and Draper on the floor. Exterior, night, New York City. Judith stops Agatha from rushing out the back door of Judith's apartment building.
Whoever sent those two pups upstairs might not have been naive enough to believe they'd hurt me.
Who were they?
Judith looks around and then waves at Agatha that the coast is clear. They scurry down the alley and to the street.
They must be in the employ of one of my enemies.
Enemies? You have enemies?
Agatha runs to the end of the block and waves down a taxi. Judith follows. A taxi arrives as Judith catches up to Agatha.
Honey, if you get to be my age and you don't have enemies, you've done absolutely nothing with your life.
They hop into the taxi and drive into the New York City night.
I'm so loud, 'cause I'm long and proud, just like my daddy, gonna shoot a man down. You better watch how you use your faith. A man like me, he'll take your life away. I'd rather drink that whiskey than go into a church. I never met a preacher who put his words to work. And if that preacher's preaching, I ain't coming in. I'd rather sit outside with my sin. I'm so loud, 'cause I'm long and proud, just like my daddy, gonna shoot a man down. You better watch how you use your face. A man like me, he'll take your life away. I'm so loud. Cause I'm long and proud. I'm so loud. Cause I'm long and proud.
Interior Day, New Jersey courtroom, 1959. The bailiff steps forward to begin the proceedings.
The court will now hear the case of Joseph Skinny Carmichael versus the state of New Jersey.
2 guards bring forth a 54-year-old Skinny Carmichael. He has the look of a man who's been up and been down before, someone who knows how to get back up after he's been knocked down. But this kick in the teeth right here, oh, it's about to hurt. Maybe worse than anything in a long life full of abuse.
Mr. Carmichael, the list of charges against you is rather impressive. Money laundering, tax evasion, murder, destruction of evidence, and there is this whole issue with the Nazis. Did you serve in the war, Mr. Carmichael?
I was in prison at the time, Your Honor.
The judge nods and makes a disapproving note in his journal.
They said they were scientists. I mean, yeah, they said some stuff about blacks and Jews once or twice, but this is America.
For 10 years, you really seem to have turned a new leaf. But given your history of organized crime and murder, this court simply will not look away.
It was him. He was there. The shadow with the eyes. He did the same one from the train yard. He was there.
Yes.
He was there.
Your Honor, Mr. Carmichael has suffered a mental collapse from the death of his wife and his business. It is our opinion that perhaps prison may not be the most productive environment for our client.
He was there.
The judge takes a look at Carmichael, a man reduced to such a pathetic heap, and nods sadly.
I do see your point.
Hey, thanks for listening to Neighborly Detective Co. Hope you enjoyed that episode. If you'd like to see more of that, join us on Patreon. Patreon.com/DreamingAnsible. That helps us make new episodes. It helps pay to get comics made. And I want to thank a bunch of people who helped us even get this far today. Sarah Sella, Jason Squadamia is one of the actors on today's show. He's a narrator. He's been a great help in getting this show off the ground, getting the scripts written, even editing. He's been a great help. Amanda Aaron, who helps wrangle a lot of the cast together for this episode. Derek Stewart, who's always been a lifelong help friend. Kurt and Emily, who are also performers in the episode today. Jason Payne also helped a lot with editing. Zach Yoakum did the mandolin bits when we went back to the 20s. Let's see, I'm So Loud by Dr. Rob Job was also another song. I really love that song. It's like, I try to cram that song into anything I can. It's great, and it really fit in with today's episode. And then the rest of the music is my band, Barfin the Robot. So check out everyone's respective websites. Yeah, be nice to each other. Have a good time. Bye. DreamingAnsible. Hey.